What? What's a professional hangman?
A hangman who is a professional. This podcast contains graphic descriptions that some listeners may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Now, with that being said, welcome to the Mortal Musings podcast.
Right, let's do this.
This is something I noticed the other day, Neil. When I'm getting ready,
Yeah.
I'll do my makeup, and obviously if I'm getting ready for work, it's still dark outside. Or if I'm getting ready in the evening, obviously, it's dark.
Yeah.
Lighting's not always the best, and you want to make sure your makeup's all right. You're not going out looking fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I have a vanity mirror on my desk to do my makeup, and then once I'm done, I usually get up and I look in the full length mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I check it. Now, the other night, like at the time of recording this, the previous night we recorded a live with Danny After Dark. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But before we recorded, I had to paint my face. Had to put my face on.
Yeah.
So I, like I said, did my
Clan makeup.
yes, if you will. Did it in the vanity mirror. Then I got up to the full length mirror and was checking it. And it was cold, so I was wearing my robe. And one side had slipped down off my shoulder. And because the mirror on the wall is a little bit low, you have to kind of dip a little bit when you do it. So I'm like dipping and turning, and I started laughing to myself. I realised halfway through, I look just like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. You know, after he's got done up and he's there like, I'd fuck me.
Hello, Clarice.
Well, that was Hannibal. That was Hannibal Lecter. Talking about Buffalo Bill.
Who's he?
He's the killer in the Silence of the Lambs.
No.
He's the one they're hunting.
No.
No.
That's...
No. Hannibal Lecter is already in prison and they're going and they're talking to him.
He's the killer. He rips someone's face off and wears it.
No, but listen to me. In Silence of the Lambs, they're hunting Buffalo Bill.
I see. I was a kid when I watched it.
There's no excuse. It's a classic movie.
Okay.
All right. But my point being, I'm there dipping and fucking turning and twirling and I realise I'm just like Buffalo Bill. I don't think you'll ever look at me the same way again. Okay. Every time I go to that mirror and look, you're going to start singing Goodbye Fucking Horses at me.
What's that?
It's the song that's playing. It's like a fucking iconic scene of him, doing his makeup, putting his brows on, and then Goodbye Horses playing. And he's looking in the mirror going, I'd fuck me.
Okay.
No?
No, not a clue. I'm sorry for the noises I was making, but that's what he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Clarice. Seat sniffing. He's fucking seat sniffing.
I don't think he was. Even Hannibal Lecter doesn't stoop that fucking low.
Yeah.
I was about to say to you, like, oh, we got to share this on the podcast. Do you never notice it?
No.
When I'm getting ready, I'm proper like leaning and fucking checking the angles.
I'm used to it. Like I've, you'll be there putting stuff on your eyes and you've got your gob open.
I don't do that.
What?
I don't do that.
You'll purse your lips, you'll have your mouth
open.
open.
Oh, no, yeah, I do. A lot of people, when they do mascara, they open their mouth. It's just because you're, to open your eyes more, you open your mouth. I don't do that. I don't know why, but I end up, like, pursing my mouth. Like, I'm more tense with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking out for that.
Yeah.
Is there anything I do?
What, you mean like faces you pull when you're getting ready?
Well, yours weren't a face. You were...
Mine is a whole body movement.
You look like you've got bad cramps.
No. You got to check your angles. Do you know what I mean? Imagine I hadn't blended my jaw enough and it was just like this big fucking line.
But is there anything I do when I'm doing my hair or my facial hair or...
No, you're not that bad when you're getting ready. In general, though, if you're concentrating on something, you stick your tongue out.
What?
You stick your tongue out when you're concentrating, or tongue, as you would say.
I do not.
You do. Yeah, it irritates me.
Stick my tongue out?
Yeah, so say
if I'm trying to find an awl with a bolt.
What?
If I'm trying to find an awl with a bolt.
Yeah. If you're doing something fiddly or mechanical, yeah, you just your tongue's hanging out your gob like a dog waiting to go to the park. Yeah.
Tongue's kind of big.
Yeah. So we've got fucking Buffalo Bill here, and then fucking Marley and me over there in the corner.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Terry Crews from
Why Terry
White
Crews?
Chicks. Tongue's kind of big.
Oh.
Right. Well, with that out of the way. What you got for us?
Today, Neil,
Mhm.
we are going to be talking about Takahiro Shiraishi, a.k.a. the Twitter killer.
So this is actually, I didn't know you were going to cover this so soon. So 99% of the time with this podcast, it's no joke. When she says, today we are covering, that's when I find out what we're covering. But this is something, I got up one morning and I made myself some breakfast and Megan was still in bed. So I decided to put just like a YouTube documentary on. And it was this case. And I got like 10, 15 minutes in and I was like, fuck this. I don't want to know. I want Megan to cover it. So I suggested it. And Jesus, that was only like 2 weeks ago, a week ago.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the case. So I was like, okay, let me have a quick look into it. So I did. And I was finishing up a case at the time and I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to jump into this one.
Yeah.
I did.
So to keep it spontaneous, I just stopped watching the documentary.
Yeah.
Cut all ties with it.
Never again.
No, because I want to hear the information from you.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this one.
Now, before we get into today's episode, we are not going to be identifying those who were murdered. Their names are withheld in order to protect their privacy. Takahiro Shiraishi was born on the 9th of October 1990 in Zama, Kanagawa. As a child, Takahiro was said to have been more quiet, but did socialise well with others. Described by one former classmate as normal, inconspicuous, and low profile. He was more the type to listen and observe rather than speak out himself. Although he did not have the best grades, he was said to have been very attentive in school and was involved in athletics as well as baseball. Now, he had other hobbies as well, one of them being the choking game. Now, Neil knows about this. You want to take this one?
What do you mean? Oh, what we used to do at school.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we'd do is on like basketball courts, you've got like the big chicken wire fence going around. You know, like the thicker wired one. And what you'd do is you'd get someone to cross their arms over the chest and then you'd push them as hard as you could and like squeeze them against the cage and they'd pass out. And then you'd let go and either try and revive him or wait for him to come round. We used to do that all the time to each other.
Yeah, now I threw this one to Neil because I knew he had some experience in it. I'm not 100% sure if it was the exact same thing that he did. It was just described as the choking game. But I assume it was something similar. And how fucked up is that? Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Was it literally just to get an adrenaline rush going on, or?
No, it was just something you did.
What do you mean it was something you did? You deliberately made yourself pass out?
Well, not make yourself. You'd get someone else to do it to you.
Yes, but you were choosing to do this.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You were just enlisting someone to help you.
There's no bullying involved. Someone would say, do it to me. I want to try it.
But you've willingly done this to yourself, so why did you do it?
It's just something you did. Like, I don't know, we were just larking about.
After graduating from high school in 2009, Takahiro worked in a supermarket. He was said to have had a close bond with his father, and an ex-girlfriend of his described him as being a gentle character who was, quote, never angry with women.
Okay.
After 2 years working in the supermarket, Takahiro decided to make a change in his career path. He makes the decision to quit his job, and he finds employment in Kabukicho as a scout in the red light district.
What's that then?
Well, as a scout, Takahiro would lure young women into sex work.
Oh.
Yeah, in the brothels and other adult entertainment, as they put it.
And that's a profession?
Yeah. Now, that's fucking horrible as it is. But apparently Takahiro was known amongst those in this industry as being particularly creepy. One person actually did post a photo with him and captioned it, "Watch out for this scout." Now, if you're already in this line of work, how fucking bad do you need to be known as the creepy one?
Yeah.
In February of 2017, Takahiro was arrested and given a suspended sentence for recruiting women into sex work. The following month, Takahiro returned to his father's home and started a part-time job in a warehouse. In June of 2017, Takahiro was said to have been struggling with his mental health, reportedly telling his father, "I don't know why I'm alive." By August of that year, Takahiro had set up multiple Twitter accounts stating that he was a, quote, professional hangman. And Takahiro would use these accounts to contact young women.
What's a professional hangman?
A hangman who is a professional. That is their trade. Their profession.
Hangman is any...
A hangman executioner.
Fucking hell.
So, like I said, Takahiro would use these accounts to contact young women, and he would deliberately contact young women who were in a particularly vulnerable state, those who would express their desires to end their own lives. He would make contact with these women, making them feel as though he felt the same, and he was offering them a companion in death. So he was sort of romanticising the idea to these women.
Yeah.
His profile read, quote, "I want to help people who are really in pain. Please DM me anytime."
It's mad, but there's stuff like that on the internet.
What do you mean?
Like people who've never met, but they're organising to commit suicide together, or, like your man who volunteered to be eaten.
You see, right, okay, I've never ventured onto the dark web because I don't need that shit in my life. But I remember watching, it was a guy who basically would go onto the dark web and kind of explore around and do videos on it.
Yeah.
Now, he was making the point that not everything on the dark web is, bad as such. There's plenty of forums and things. Like, I think this guy in particular went on it, or at least this was his story. This is what he claimed. Something to do with mathematics. There was big communities of people who are into, like, I can't even get into it because I know nothing about numbers and it's not my world. But you ever see though, even watching fucking Countdown and they're solving the problem, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? How are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like 1 out of every 50 I can do.
Yeah.
But there is it is shocking when you see some of the stuff in the dark web. Like the fact that it's the worst of the worst, the things that we can't even imagine, and to some people it's normal. And this is just on Twitter with this guy in this case. This is out there for the world to see. Yeah,
it's like I saw someone who was opening like a mystery box, what he'd purchased on the dark web. And one of the items in this box was a USB stick. And he's like, "I'm not putting this in my computer." Yeah. But he didn't know whether to just destroy it or take it to the police because there could have been some sort of evidence on it. But then he couldn't check it because he didn't want to put it in his computer and get a virus.
Mm-hmm.
Or give out his location So I don't know what he did with it in the end.
Yeah, but what kind of a fucking idiot do you have to be to do that?
Yeah.
Why? Like, was it a real video or was it a setup? Like, you think it was just a clickbaity type of thing?
I would have thought it was real because there was nothing outrageous in the box. So it's like you can tell when they're fake when they get a T-shirt with blood on it.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on, you willingly wanted a box that could contain the worst of the worst. Like you wanted to do. Why would you want? Like, I'm just sitting here talking about these things. I don't want any involvement in the case. Authorities were first notified about Takahiro and his potential involvement after a man reported his 23-year-old sister missing in October of 2017. She had posted on Twitter that she was, quote, "looking for someone who will die with me." After the death of their mother in June of that year, his sister had been struggling with her mental health. And now, as you can imagine, he had become incredibly concerned as to her whereabouts.
Yeah.
The woman in question had last been seen on the 23rd of October, leaving the group home where she was currently living. Now, where Takahiro comes into this is he had messaged this woman saying, "Let's die together."
Of course he did.
This woman's brother provided the police with Takahiro's Twitter handle, and through investigating his online presence, police were able to identify another woman who he had been in contact with. They asked her to contact him and see if he would meet her at the train station, while under observation, of course.
Yeah.
She agreed to do so, and on the 30th of October 2017, the two meet up. Once in their sights, police follow Takahiro back to his apartment. So police arrive at Takahiro's apartment. They knock on his door and ask if he knew the whereabouts of this missing woman. He motions towards a freezer and says, "In that cooler."
Just like that?
Fairly straightforward, not much messing about. The police are at his door, he's kind of like, oh, jig is up. He did later say that he thought about denying his involvement, but that he knew the evidence against him was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Now, as they search the apartment, which would later become known as the House of Horrors, they find more and more bodies. All have been dismembered. Police find decapitated heads, legs, arms, stored between 3 cooler boxes and 5 large storage boxes. Some had been covered in cat litter, I can only assume in an attempt to mask the odour of decomp.
Would cat litter do that?
Yes, it will absorb liquids and kind of tone down. I mean, nothing's going to stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to...
Maybe Febreze.
In his apartment, they also found some of the tools that he'd been using to dismember these bodies. Scissors, knives, a saw, along with other woodworking tools, and ropes were found. In total, police found the remains of 9 people.
Fucking hell.
8 female and 1 male. The ages ranged between 15 and 26 years of age. While talking with neighbours, they confirmed that they had noticed a foul odour emitting from Takahiro's apartment, yet no one had reported it.
I bet it fucking did.
Well, they told police that there had been a sewage-like smell for 2 months, but again, no one had reported it.
Yeah, how many times have you smelt a funny smell, and reported
But if it was in my apartment complex, and even if I thought it was sewage or something, I would be at least getting onto the landlord.
I'm going, it fucking stinks.
I didn't see anything about at least complaints to the landlord.
Right.
You know, everyone was just kind of like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
I'm just getting on. I mean, 9 decomposing bodies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have never smelt decomp, but people say once you smell that smell, you will never forget it. So I can imagine it would have been fairly intense.
Yeah.
As for how Takahiro went about the actual murder, it's thought that his method was strangulation, as one body had broken bones in the neck, while another showed bleeding patterns along their neck. So, although, this is looking incredibly likely that they are dealing with a serial killer here, Takahiro was initially charged with abandoning bodies. After his arrest, Takahiro admitted to the murders and dismembering their bodies. He tells detectives that his motive to commit the murders was sexual in nature, and that the reason he had selected the people that he did was because he knew that they were not in the best mental or emotional state, and that he could easily manipulate them.
So when you say about the sexual thing, so he'd get turned on killing them?
No. So he believed that he would be able to live out his twisted desires to sexually assault them, and because of their mental state, he had hoped that they wouldn't be too physically or verbally combative.
Right.
When he, yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, though, even with his, grotesque selection of victims, thinking that they wouldn't fight back, all 9 bodies showed evidence of defensive wounds.
Oh.
He tells detectives that at first it took him about 3 days to dismember a body, but after his first murder, he was able to do so within a day. He also tells detectives that he tried to financially gain from these women. According to one report, he stole 500,000 yen from one woman, which is over €3,000. Now, he deliberately went after girls and women, but there was a male found in his apartment as well. The reason for this was one of the women he had met online showed up to meet Takahiro with her boyfriend.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it turned out to be a fella.
No.
Okay.
After meeting up, the three of them actually went out for drinks together. But after this, the boyfriend left and Takahiro and the woman went back to his apartment. When the boyfriend showed up later, Takahiro killed him too, saying, quote, "If the man reported her missing to the police, I thought I would be suspected, so I killed him."
Just as simple as that.
It literally, to him, is like tie up a loose end.
Yeah.
Now, his reason for not discarding the body parts was that he was afraid of getting caught while doing so. So it wasn't part of, the enjoyment for him
Yeah.
dismembering the bodies or having them near him. That was literally, shit, bodies are piling up. I'm too scared to get rid of them.
So I'll just
store
live amongst them.
Yeah, store them where I can. Like I said, the cat litter thing, it was literally just, what do I do now?
So I wonder if he hadn't got caught, how many would he, like, what was his apartment look like in a year, 2 years' time?
Well, this is the thing. We'll talk about it, but this was actually in quite a small span of time that he committed these murders. So let's talk about how Takahiro actually carried out these murders. It was very uniform and he didn't deviate, only when he felt as though he had to kill in order to avoid detection. With each murder, Takahiro would manually strangle the person. Once the woman had fainted, he would then sexually assault them. He would then take a rope and hang them. He stole money from each victim in varying amounts. He carried out the murder of the man in the same manner, but did not sexually assault him. The first woman murdered by Takahiro was a 21-year-old female who he had met on Twitter in early August.
That's no age.
He talked her out of taking her own life and asked her to come and live with him in an apartment that he'd obtained with the money that she had sent him. He had hopes of this young woman entering into sex work under his quote-unquote management in order to support them.
Yeah.
Once he realised that that wasn't going to happen and she was going to leave him, he killed her. Quote, "I had a hard time making up my mind to do it, but I had done illegal things on a daily basis as part of my work as a scout and had internalised the idea that it's only a problem if you get caught." Although his crimes were sexually motivated, and Takahiro did not exactly set out to financially benefit from the murders as such, it was more about exploiting these women, what he could get out of them. Once he realised he could financially benefit, and in doing so wouldn't have to work for a living, it became a standard of his crimes.
I think the money were a part of it. I think he was. Like, that is one of the reasons.
I don't think so. I really do think he saw this as, oh, actually, I can also do this. Because with his first murder, he says himself, I wasn't going out of my way to murder this person. He was actually with her.
Yeah.
And then he kind of contemplated with the thought of her leaving him. He realised he could do this. He realised if they're not conscious, I can do what I want. And if they're not here anymore, I can take their money.
Yeah.
But like I said, you believe that robbery was part of this.
Kind of, but then why would you kill him? Because you're not going to get any more out of him. Yeah, maybe.
Well, like I said, I think it was one of those things that once he realised this can be a added benefit to me, it became part of his crimes and it was almost an operation. Like I said, how he carried out each murder, it was the same thing each time.
Yeah.
The victims that followed were a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 26-year-old, two 17-year-olds, a 25-year-old, and a 23-year-old.
Fucking hell, they're all young.
Yeah. The eldest was 26.
15?
And the youngest was 15, yeah. Now, something else not to forget, we mentioned it briefly earlier. This span of crimes was within a very short amount of time. Takahiro had murdered 9 people between August and October.
Fucking
9
hell.
people within a few months. Can you imagine how prolific this guy might have been had he not been caught?
Yeah.
It's truly horrifying to think
Yeah.
about. I mean, this could have been...
It's like I said, a year, 2 years.
I don't even want to... That sounds horrible to say this could have been. This is... 9 people
Yeah.
lost their lives.
But you just think of the count in 2 years.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Be in the hundreds.
And then when you think about the fact that, you know, there was this smell of decomposition coming from his apartment, and I'm sure at some point someone would have reported, but for 2 months,
Yeah.
no one spoke up. People were kind of, it's not my business or whatever.
But I know we've done stages of decomp and stuff, but like, on average, how long would it take for a smell to start from decomp?
A few days.
Oh shit. People, 2 months?
This is what I'm saying to you. That's... And this was starting in August. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's not...
Where's this, Japan?
Yeah.
Fuck.
As the trial against Takahiro began, he appeared calm. The prosecution were seeking the death penalty. Now, his lawyers argued that, although he was guilty of the lesser charge of murder with consent, using the claim that the victims of his crimes had given their permission.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be a mutual thing of maybe they took an overdose, not he would manually strangle them, sexually assault them, hang them, cut them up.
Well, don't worry about that, because that goes out the window, because Takahiro himself would later go against his lawyers and state that he killed without consent, saying, quote, "Not a single one of my victims consented." You can't say more straight than that, can you? To the point.
Straight from Os's mouth.
His defence argued that it was clear that there was some form of mental disorder affecting his decision-making, and therefore should receive a reduced sentence. Takahiro underwent 5 months of psychiatric testing, and as far as I'm aware, there was no diagnosis that they could determine to be a contributing factor to his behaviour.
And that's 3 months longer than it took him to kill 9 people.
Yeah. The prosecution stated that Takahiro operated with consistency and purpose, deeming him criminally responsible. On the 1st of October 2020, Takahiro pled guilty to 9 counts of murder. Although the court only held 16 seats for the public, over 400 people showed up.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. You got to remember, like, in Japan, this is very shocking.
Yeah.
You know, like we've talked about before, in the US, it's a different ball game with serial killers compared to, I mean, the UK, you have more than here, but it's nowhere near the leagues. And then, like I said, in Ireland, it's not really a thing. If we had a serial killer on the loose, we'd be like, oh.
Yeah, and it's like some people might say, yeah, but look at the size of America compared to Britain. And it's like, all right, so serial killers in Britain compared to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Or like...
Yeah. I mean, Wisconsin alone has got not that I put him in the category of a serial killer, but Wisconsin alone has Ed Gein and Dahmer. You've got 2 of like the biggest names of...
And don't even get me started on California. California.
Sort yourself out.
California in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, done for. No one can compete. Russia's another interesting one. You don't have massive amounts of cases, but some of the ones you do get are really, really shocking.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Japan is the same way. You don't have as many cases, but the ones you do hear are terrifying.
Yeah.
The judge stated that Takahiro was cunning, cruel, and fully responsible for his actions. He also noted that this case has, quote, provoked great anxiety in society because social networks are so commonly used. none of the 9 victims consented to be killed, including silent consent. It is extremely grave that the lives of 9 young people were taken away. The dignity of the victims was trampled upon. The father of one of the women murdered by Takahiro told the court that he will never forgive him, even after death. Quote, "Even now, when I see a woman of my daughter's age, I mistake her for my daughter. This pain will never go away. Give her back to me." On the 15th of December, 2020, Takahiro was sentenced to death. The father of a 17-year-old girl who'd been murdered by him said that he felt the death penalty was, quote, appropriate.
See, I've always wondered how I would feel. Like, most logical thinking is life for life. That's the easiest way of thinking. But wouldn't you be like, no, I want them to spend a life in prison and suffer every day?
Well, on the note of the death penalty, so Japan do things a little bit different. So, first of all, in Japan, the method used for execution is hanging. Not as common nowadays, but that is the method they still use. And those on death row are not given an execution date. They find out on the morning of their execution.
Oh,
so
shit.
As far as you were saying about the kind of, festering in prison kind of thing.
Yeah.
You kind of have that. You know you're going to be executed, but you have no idea until it's about to happen.
Yeah. So they come knocking.
I did look it up, and apparently the average time spent on death row in Japan is 6 years and 8 months.
So that's a lot short of a lot you hear in America.
Well, bear in mind, like I said, that's the average.
Yeah.
So, give or take.
Wonder what the average is in America then. Because you can have some 20 years.
Yeah. Takahiro had stated that he did not plan to appeal the decision, as he did not feel it was right to extend the pain that he had already caused to these families. His lawyers did appeal his death sentence to the High Court, but Takahiro retracted their appeal. Takahiro's right to appeal hit its deadline in January of 2021, and on the 5th of January, his death sentence was finalised.
It's my birthday.
It is. In the aftermath of the murders, it has forced Japan, a country with a low crime rate yet high suicide rate, to further consider how they can provide services to those who may need help in regards to their mental health, in particular thoughts of suicide. Twitter has also amended its rules to state that users should not promote or encourage suicide or self-harm. And that is the case of Takahiro Shiraishi, a.k.a. the Twitter killer. To finish up, I have a quote from him that I thought, I don't want to say appreciate, but at least appreciate the honesty of him on this one.
Okay.
Quote, "If they hadn't caught me, I would regret nothing."
Yeah, because...
You always say that.
Yeah, I always say it. They only regret it once they're caught. They're only sorry once they're caught.
Yeah. I thought you would at least like that he's being honest. And even that when he's saying about the death penalty, and he's like, you know what? I've got to pay for my crimes, and by keeping me around, you're only extending the pain.
Yeah.
You know? So what do you think of that case?
Yeah, clearly he's a piece of shit, but I can admire his honesty at the end. You know? He's literally saying what I've been saying for years.
You got to remember as well, this is a young guy, you know? He's only in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
You know, he was in his 20s at the time of this. I know that's not shocking as such. There's plenty of serial killers who've been quite young, but I don't know, there's something about it to me that 9 people at such a young age in such a short span of time, I don't know, it kind of boggles my mind. It's, you know what I mean? Maybe that's just me, I don't know.
I do have one question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it was just to target me. What did the choking game have to do with it?
It's quite bizarre behaviour.
Is it?
He would, I think so, yes.
Oh.
I think it's quite bizarre, and the fact that that is how he would kill each victim of his crime. So,
yeah. Yeah. I did actually read about that game, and they reckon that it can damage the brain.
well, yeah, your
because you're cutting off oxygen to the
Yeah.
brain. I don't know how many times I did it.
But again, like, I don't want to be like pestering you, like, why? Give me an answer. But surely if you wanted to do it, and like you're saying it was just a bit of crack, like you were enjoying it. It wasn't like a form of self-harm to you, or was it?
No, it weren't self-harm. I think
I mean, putting you on blast here, but...
I think it might have been who can stay awake the longest. Or I don't know. We were like 13, 14.
And you did this a lot?
Yeah. Weekly. At least.
Well, maybe it was the style at the time. He's about your age.
I'm not saying weekly for 2 years.
Yeah.
When we were doing it, I don't know. But yeah, I must have done it at least 20 times. At least. So if it damages brain cells each time you do it.
Lads, don't do it.
Plus me concussions.
Or, maybe
I'm surprised I can still tie my shoelaces.
If it was a thing when you were younger, let us know, because it sure as fuck wasn't for me. I never did this. I personally don't know anyone who did this.
Oh.
Maybe I'll ask my brother. Maybe he did it. I can't see my brother having done that. I don't think
he might have heard of it.
Yeah.
Unless this is a British thing again.
And Japanese.
Yeah.
It only really took off in the UK and Japan. I don't know why it didn't go elsewhere.
Same as tea. Oh, that was China.
A lot of countries drink tea, though. And it is not a British thing, I think it's actually the Irish per person actually drink more tea as well than the British.
I don't believe that.
I'm pretty sure that's true. I'm pretty sure that's true from all the research I've done.
Yeah.
I've heard that somewhere. I'd like to think it's true. I'd like to believe that of us.
So, is that what our audit is going to be? Or are we going to argue more about tea?
No, I think we did enough of that a couple episodes back. That really, it took a turn. I don't really know what happened there.
For me, it was just once we were done and you went back to the audit and you went, well, that's actually pretty much it for that.
I mean, it was, it was coffin bells. There's not really much more else to say, is there? Yeah.
So go on. What's the oddity?
Ancient Condoms. Let's talk safety.
What, like the sheepskin stuff?
Yeah. It was a bit of variety. But it's, again, like I said, regardless of the time, you got to be safe. You got to be smart.
Come on then, hit me with it.
So the first known documentation of a condom as such dates back about 3000 BC. In Greek mythology, Minos was said to have used a goat's bladder in order to have sex with his wife because his semen was said to have contained serpents and scorpions. You don't be needing that, do you?
See, I'd sooner get the STD.
What?
I'd sooner get the STD.
What are you talking about?
Like people wear condoms to avoid STDs and pregnancy and stuff.
Yes.
Goat's bladder?
Yeah, hang on. You would rather kill your wife with serpents and scorpions shooting from your penis.
But he clearly didn't.
But let's go with the story. Let's go with it. Throw yourself into it, Neil. You're saying, ew, a goat's bladder. I'll just have the serpents and scorpions shoot from my penis. That's totally cool with me.
Not saying that at all. I never said that. Unless that's what his STD
You literally
was.
just said I'd rather an STD than a goat's bladder.
So I take it he was mentally ill.
Well, it's Greek mythology, like it's, you know what I mean? That's just the first documentation of it, like a condom of sorts.
Okay.
So Greek mythology aside, rubber condoms didn't really take off until around the 19th century. And it wasn't until the 20th century that they were, actually worth a shite. Apparently, the German military were the first to promote safe sex among their soldiers in the 19th century. And by the First World War, Britain were the only ones in Europe who did not promote or supply condoms to their soldiers.
Here we go.
What?
Yeah, it's just a dig at the British. Like,
well, why weren't yous?
Probably because we had the Irish in the British Army and the Catholics wouldn't allow it.
Hey, Hey. Yeah, it could be a fair point, But, no, safe sex. I mean, in Ireland, we've got the campaign, Johnny's Got You Covered.
What?
In Ireland, there's a campaign called Johnny's Got You Covered.
No, there's not.
Yeah, there is. And there's like a spokesperson mascot type thing where it's a guy called Johnny and they'll go to, like say festivals and shit like that and they'll hand out condoms because they just want people to have safe sex.
See, we used to go and get them when we were lads and then just blow them up, put them on our heads and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you'd go to the family planning clinic and you'd get a bag of them. You'd be like 14. They couldn't say no.
They should be. Anyone who needs them, give them out.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a conversation for another day. But in Ireland, it's relatively recent that contraceptives are readily available.
It was only last year you were getting them free.
Oh no, but I'm talking about even condoms.
Oh, okay.
It's fairly recent history that they became available,
Yeah.
without having to go to a clinic and.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're here to talk about ancient condoms, not just back in day.
Yeah. Okay.
So way, way back in day, linen sheaths were used by the ancient Egyptians.
Spun could get through that, wouldn't it?
That's what I thought, but apparently they were chemically treated in something. I was trying to find out what exactly it was, and I was kind of getting different answers. So,
Okay.
but a linen sheath. I'll say it again.
It'd probably be comfortable, wouldn't it?
Well, here's another thing.
It could be a bit rough for the woman.
Something else that they would do. They would dye the linen different colours to distinguish between social status.
What?
Yeah.
What's he got, like a royal cloth?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And
yeah, that'd be a bit rough for the woman, wouldn't it?
I mean, I think everything was a bit rough for women back in the day, wasn't it? You know what I mean? What's a bit of fucking linen? Jesus.
Why not silk? That'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, silk is. I'm looking at getting some silk pillowcases. I'm on the hunt for them now.
I'm glad you said pillowcases.
I'm looking at getting a silk sheath for my pillow.
I thought you was going to say a Mickey case.
Mickey case. Right, so what about the Romans? You know them lads, they're riding everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, their dicks were just dropping off.
Leathering each other out of it.
Leather?
They also used linen.
I thought you said leather.
No, they were leathering each other out of it.
Oh, okay.
Riding each other.
Yeah.
No, they also used linen. Or if that wasn't your protection of choice, you could also opt for animal tissue, usually made from the intestines or bladder of a sheep or goat. Now, we know already that's not Neil's choice, so I'm guessing you're going with the linen.
Yeah.
It had also been reported that they would use the muscle tissue from enemies that they had killed in battle, but there's no hard evidence.
Yeah, that's morbid as fuck.
Yeah, there's no hard evidence of that, but that has been floated about.
I'd see Vikings doing something like that.
That's what I thought as well, yeah. Now, you said about silk.
Yeah.
In China, sheaths were made out of silk paper, which would then be coated in oil. There's a bit of class there, isn't there?
A bit of lube.
Yeah, a bit of lube. Silk, that's...
What's this podcast come to?
Hey, again, this is a good topic. Talk about, promoting safe sex and all. You want that.
Yeah.
And in Japan, they would use tortoise shell or sometimes leather. Yeah. Now...
Hang on.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean by that?
Tortoise shell's harder than the prick.
Yes. So I didn't understand what that meant. I was like, you can't, a shell? What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, no.
Peel?
That's what I thought. I was trying to figure out what it meant. How are they breaking it down and using it? Apparently, it's literally like a hard shell.
Yeah.
That they would put over the penis.
What pleasure does the man get from that?
There was also like dildos and all that they had fashioned out of the tortoise shell.
Well, I'd understand that more.
Yeah, I know.
What does the man get from that?
I don't really understand what Japan were doing back in the day. What were they at with this?
Yeah. Sort it out. Yeah.
Now, lads, we've given you a variety of choices here. I'm not suggesting you use any of them. We do have better alternatives now, but yeah, point still stands. protect yourself and stay safe.
And protect your Mickey.
Well, yeah, protect yourself.
Thank you so much for listening. Find us on Patreon, TikTok, Facebook and Instagram. If you have a case suggestion or maybe even your own story, email us at mortalmusingspodcast@gmail.com.